Well, Danny Ayalon joins us now from New York. He is a former deputy foreign minister for Israel, a former member of the Knesset, and a former Israeli ambassador to the United States. Thanks so much for speaking to us. You know, it's somewhat mind-boggling almost that a peace plan can be announced at this level that hasn't even negotiated with, much less agreed by, 50% of the equation was actually missing here. Is it fair, do you think, for the United States to take this position on this plan?
Well, I don't think that this is what we should discuss, whether it was fair or not, but whether it was the right thing to do. And what is unfortunate here again, that the Palestinians did not even look at the plan, did not even read it, and they rejected it outright. And this is within the same pattern of behavior that they have been showing for the last 100 years. So it's not just a matter of the content of the plan, but the fact that they are not even willing to discuss it, the fact that they have rejected any plan, including far-reaching concessions that Israel was giving to them. The latest one was in 2008, before that in 2000. And also, Andrea, I want to mention the Obama attempts with the former Secretary of State John Kerry that almost also got into some kind of resolution. And again, the Palestinians rejected at the last moment.
But is it fair, I can ask then, to start from such a position of marginalization whereby, I mean, you can list all the times you think the Palestinians haven't, been a fair partner, but still, they weren't even consulted here. And then it's announced in front, of a very enthusiastic pro-Israeli crowd. It's fair to see it as very one-sided. The fact that President Trump is so pro-Israeli, it's almost insulting to Palestinians.
Well, Andrea, if we again judge by the geopolitics of the region, the history of the region, and what is feasible also politically, we can no longer keep the Palestinians in a veto power position, because this is what have been happening for the last 72 years until very recently, whereby the Palestinians were the rejectionists, and not only they were rejectionists, they compelled everybody else to, if you will, play to their own tunes, basically holding hostage not just Israel and their own people, but the entire area. So no more, and I think this is where the President Trump departs from, I would say, the traditional American policy, where you have to bring the Palestinians. But if the Palestinians object, Trump says, okay, I will try a different thing. It's insanity to try the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And for the last 5 presidents, they have tried the same thing over and over, only to hit a brick wall at the end. So today, what was presented, or yesterday, 2 days ago, was also an option on a basis of not take it or leave it, but this is a blueprint for starting negotiations. And here again, we are waiting for Abbas and the Palestinian interlocutors to come to the table, and let's discuss it with mutual respect and dignity, and bearing in mind the best interest of our respective peoples and the region at large.
Right. I just have to add, though, that it's not just the Palestinians who've rejected this plan. A number of, international leaders have come out and said it is not fair to have gone about it this way, and it's a null starting point. It looks at breaking international law or ignoring that international law had ever been broken. But I'd like to move on to something with you, because there's a lot at play right now involving Prime Minister Netanyahu. We know he's no longer immune from prosecution, and some say he's kind of taking a page from Trump's own playbook right now by trying to actually shift the focus from the charges against him in Israel, to the big ticket items, like the peace plan. Do you think he's shifting the focus, and where is the Israeli public actually looking now?
Yeah, well, I don't know if he's doing it also for political benefits, but if he does, it's quite legitimate. This is now the issue you mentioned at the beginning of your show, Andrea, that this is the issue now, whether Trump did it for political benefits and whether it was legitimate or not. But this is beside the point. We are talking about an historic opportunity here to move forward. And also we have an opportunity here because we have the great support of most of the Arab countries. The fact that in the event announcing the plan 2 days ago, there were 3 Arab ambassadors from the Emirates, from Bahrain, and for Oman. And with also, we hear already good, let's say, impressions from Saudi Arabia and other countries. I think this is something that we have to give it a go and, and at least a try.
But others will point out that the interests of Bahrain and Saudi are aligned with something that is a little more nefarious than just looking for peace between Israelis and Palestinians. There's a lot more interest at play. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is the nature of international relations, have always been.
It's also cynical. But anyway, I wanted to ask you, I mean, when we were speaking about distractions, because this is something else that had happened in the last 24 hours, it was interesting to see Netanyahu actually bring home the girl, or woman, I'm sorry, imprisoned in Russia on somewhat minor drug charges. I think it was 9 grams or something of cannabis she'd actually been sentenced to 7 years for, if I'm not mistaken. But it was a very important case for Israel. The Israeli public had been outraged. And she flew back with Netanyahu, and she was pardoned by Putin on the very eve of his visit to Moscow. What is going on there? Why was her case, was it used as leverage for something? It's very interesting to see the timing of all this.
Absolutely, and you cannot divorce, of course, the political timing and the political implication here. It's a major political coup for Netanyahu. Certainly, there are some very, very good personal relations between Putin and Netanyahu, because this is very helpful for Netanyahu. Will it play a major factor in the elections? It's, we still have to wait and see. Also, the same thing with this peace plan, if it will be a factor. It's also interesting here, and that Trump invited to the White House also the chief opponent to Netanyahu, General Gantz, who heads the opposition. And he also endorsed the plan. So there is an almost consensus in Israel for this plan. So if it will affect politically or not, too early to say.
Okay, Danny Ayalon, we will have to leave it there. Thank you for joining us from New York. We appreciate it.